Hello folks, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on the tree that started its life on the journey to the nursery phase. This is the same tree. Last year, about this time last year as a matter of fact, we went out to a local nursery. Found this tree. If you remember, it was a bald and bird lap tree. It was about a 12 to 15 foot tall tree. We went ahead and did the root chop on it. We went ahead and did the trunk chop on it, and we potted it in this pot, and we did absolutely nothing to it for the rest of the season. Now, like I explained in that series or that particular video, this tree would experience some dieback, and it has. Let me go ahead and turn it sideways so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll even turn it to the back. If you look, you can see this fungus growing here. Okay, that fungus is an indication that this area of the tree is dead. Not only that, but if you look at the tree, you'll actually be able to see a line, and it goes from here down, showing that the tree has died back. Okay. I'm not 100% sure how far down this tree has died back. One way to find out is take your concave cutters and just come up here to the bark and score the bark. If it's green behind there, which it actually is clear up here, that's still alive. So it looks to me like just a sliver of this has died back, maybe clear down to this vicinity, and that's fine because all the rest of it's still alive. Now, I didn't anticipate having this part of the tree here to begin with, but just to show you, you really want to plan ahead when you're doing a huge trunk chop and a root reduction like I've done, because this portion of the tree's died back. That's maybe 6-8 inches or more. Now, in the front, it didn't do that. We had some dormant buds here that popped out here and here. Okay, so the entire top of this tree is alive, clear up to about right here. Okay, it's still alive. But the backside didn't have any budding other than right down low here. And it still doesn't. And I'm kind of concerned about that. I see some areas down here where it look like we have some dormant bud sites as well. So I still am keeping my fingers crossed as far as that goes for, other buds to develop. But as it stands right now, it's not looking real promising. But that's okay, because we can always thread graft what we need. So the only thing we're really going to do this year for this tree is we're going to figure out where we want our apex, and I've already made that decision. Let me take that back from the beginning. The only thing that I did do to this tree last year is I had 2 branches growing out at the same point right here, and I decided this is where I wanted my apex to be, and I cut one of these branches. That's the only thing I did to this tree. That's it. 2 came out at the same spot. I made my selection on which one I wanted to keep, remove the other. What we're going to do to this tree, and as a matter of fact, let me say this. I have that same situation right here. I didn't do it to this one so I could show you what I was talking about. Let me zoom in here real quick so you can see. Whoa, sorry guys. I need to get a tripod that's a little shorty tripod that I can do this type of stuff with. Okay. Right here, I had the same situation. One spot. The branch it's actually the same branch, but what happened was the branch grew out. Right where it grew out, it had a dormant bud, and that dormant bud started to grow. So the branch actually comes out of the trunk, and like a 1/16 of an inch above, has a branch that grows out this way. I'm going to need to remove one of these 2, okay? Because this is more than likely going to be number 1 branch on this tree. So that's one thing that we need to do today as well. Let me zoom back out so you can see the rest of this. Alright, so 2 things that we're going to be doing to this tree this year. I'm probably going to keep this lower branch here just for now. It's a little low to be a number 1 branch. If you want to make a sumo style tree, it probably isn't too low for a #1 branch. Also, with the thickness of these branches, you want to wire these now if you're wanting to keep them, because after this year they're going to be way too big. And matter of fact, these almost might be way too big now. I think I can still get a decent bend on these with a thick enough piece of wire. But that's another thing you want to think about, is after the first year of growth, and sometimes during the first year of growth, if you see some branches that you want to keep for the final design, go ahead and wire them in place. Okay, but when you wire them in place, you need to wire the tips up. That'll keep encouraging them to grow freely. It'll thicken the branch, and it'll also set the branch all in the same season. I didn't do that with this tree, and it's not a really big deal because these didn't grow as much as I thought they would, so that's why I didn't do it. I'm doing it this season to show you that it can be done after that. Alright, the first thing we're going to do, I've decided that this here is going to be the top of this tree. It's got some decent taper to this point of the tree. After that, it's kind of straight. It's died back a little bit from there as well. So those two factors have determined that that's about going to be the top of this tree. Alright, what we're going to do is very similar to what we've done up here already. We're going to do a flat chop down here. Again, to see if we can get some back budding back here this year. Okay, I'm going to wound dress this wound where I did not, well, did I do that last year? I did do that last year, but I used the clay-based wound sealant, okay? And I was anticipating dieback. Now that we have an established trunk here, I don't think we're going to get much of any dieback. And if we do, what's going to end up dying back is going to be dying back to a dormant bud. So by chopping this tree again, it's going to tell the tree, hey, I lost my top again. I need to start producing some buds, just like it did with these, and that's where we got these shoots. But this year, the tree's going to say, okay, I lost my top again. I need to produce some buds. I know where my new top, my new leader is going to be, but I need more buds so I can produce more energy. So hopefully we'll get some more back budding on the tree down low, and we won't have a whole lot of dieback. What typically happens with these trident maples is when you do another trunk chop on them, it's going to do another flush of buds. I'm actually going to put the back side of the tree towards the sun, which will help encourage that side of the tree to produce the buds, because the tree will know that that side is getting the most light, which it's going to try to put its energy towards the area that has the most light in order to get more energy, more growth. The tree will thrive better. So we're going to do this trunk chop, wound seal it. You'll see the new apex, which is going to be this branch here. I'm going to remove one of these branches. I'm actually going to wire the branch that I keep in place, as well as this bottom branch. I'm going to do some wiring out of that as well, so we can keep that one if we want to. I might have to make a decision pretty quick on that, because where these come out, if you've noticed, it swells in that area. So if I'm not going to keep this branch down here as a primary branch, I want to remove it before the swell gets too large. If not, you got a knot there, like on my other trident maple. There's a knot here as well already. The biggest knot here is obviously the apex that this tree has chosen for itself, because this is the strongest growing branch on the entire tree. Now we do have a couple smaller ones up here. They haven't grown as strong, so that tells me the tree is selecting these down here as the apex more so than these. More than likely this year, maybe next year, these may have taken over, but they would have possibly died back. So just to go ahead and nip that in the bud, we're going to do a hack back on this. So what we need to do is grab our saw, and this is what I like to do. When I cut back a tree, I'll always start on the side where the apex is, and I'm going to go about an inch above there, and I'm going to start with my cut, okay? And I'm actually going to go around the entire area of the tree where that is going to be and ring it. What I like to refer to as ringing it. And what that does is, on a larger tree like this, if you get too carried away, you can actually, when you're sawing this portion of the tree, you end up getting to the other side, and due to the weight, it'll come off real quick, and it'll tear, and it'll rip the bark all the way down the trunk. So by ringing this, I'm separating the cambium layer from the rest of the trunk, the inner wood. So if it gets to the point where it gets to a point and then it snaps off, it's just going to snap off clean. It's not going to take that bark and rip all the way down the tree, and then you're like, oh no, I didn't anticipate doing that. Now I've got to come up with a different design for the tree. So I always do this for that reason, because that's happened to me in the past. Going around the entire thing, getting all the way through the cambrium layer, so we don't have that situation. Before we start to do the entire cut. Alright, we're all the way through. Alright, let's go ahead and start to do our main cut now. And you want to take your time with this. It doesn't have, you don't have to hurry through this. I mean, it's a large chunk of wood. It's going to take a while to get through this. And I kind of work the saw back and forth like I am here, so we can cut around it as well as through the center, kind of all at the same time. Not putting a whole lot of pressure on the saw. It's not necessary to put pressure on the saw. The saw's going to cut at its own pace. No matter whether you put pressure on it or not, it's going to do what it's intended to do, and that's cut the trunk. And you know, you can't make it do any more than it's doing on its own. Make sure I'm going across where I want to be in the front here. Yep, staying within the area that I've ringed on the tree. So get back in here. The heartwood inside here is harder than the outside layer because it's basically, when a tree grows, the inner portion is dead. The outer cambrium layer is really what's alive, and as the tree gets thicker, that's why you have rings in the tree. The rings in the tree are where the growth per year is. The inner wood's always going to be harder wood to cut because it's, for lack of a better term, it's dead. There's really not any sap or anything flowing in and out of it. It's just the structural integrity of the tree.